In my first speech, I mentioned that I attended observer school. A lot, if not all of you, do not know what a weather observer is or does. That is what I intend to talk about these next few minutes. I will tell you about what the observer is and briefly talk about their job. It may sound a little silly to say this, but the observer is the person that observes the weather as it happens. Observers report the latest and most up-to-date weather. They report things like clouds, type of clouds, cloud height, wind direction and speed, temperature, and visibility. Climatological data, or CLIMO, is also collected for things like amount of precipitation, strongest wind, snow depth, and a few other things that I'm not going to get too into detail about. All of this info is used by forecasters and meteorologists for the creation of more accurate predictions. You may be asking, how does the observer collect the data? Well, let's see. The data is simply collected by observing, just like the name implies. They being observers, are trained to recognize cloud types, and those cloud types help to estimate height from the ground, which is important for pilots to know in case the clouds are close to the ground. Pilots don't like to be surprised when they descend out of clouds and find the ground closer than they expected. Observers are also trained to estimate visibility in miles and feet, which is also important to pilots. But mostly it's important for that drive into work and there's fog and you can't see. You don't want to hit the guy in front of you. Equipment is used for more difficult things to see, like temperature, dew point, rain amount, atmospheric pressure, wind direction, and speed. Equipment with funny names like Devasi, anemometer, laser beam ceilometers, aka the LBC, and finally something known as the sling cyclometer, better known basically as the sling due to the difficulty to say. Even though some of this equipment is just as simple to look and read, some of it requires advanced math skills to figure out the actual required data. But luckily, most of the difficult equipment is either backup or deployable due to current technology. Once the data is collected, the observer needs to disseminate or send the report to the world. Disseminating is usually the simplest part. There is a system or network called the AWN, which stands for Automated Weather Network. It is simple as long as the network is fully functional. Now remember, it is a computer system. It works over the internet, allowing forecasters and meteorologists around the world to see what is happening at any participating weather observing point. The data is coded for speed of reading and for space constraints over the internet. Kind of a shorthand for weather information. Once he hits the enter button, the observer is done with his job until the next hour, or when weather changes requiring a special off-scheduled observation be taken. I'm glad to have talked to you all about a small but important part of the weather career, and explained a little of what the guy or girl behind the forecaster actually does. This person produces a lot of work in a short period of time, from an instant look and judgment of clouds to translation of equipment to code and informing the world of what is happening in his little part of the globe.